as someone or both of you going through experience of like having children, I don't have children, but we never really talk about it either from the male perspective. Like we don't really talk about the working world, what it's like to have kids, all the difficulties of, obviously, having them, but, insurance and all these sort of stuff. And I think it's like a really good topic that we can just kind of like bro out on kids, something that we never
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah. First off, for what it's worth, I think you'd make a great dad. All right, man.
Oh,
I think you'd
yeah.
make a.
I'd actually love to get Mike's perspective. Like, what's the thing? So, my opinion on this is like having kids always gets a bad rap, and like people are like, oh, it's hard, it costs so much money. I have more responsibility now. What's the best part about having kids? I think kids are great. Like kids, are probably sometimes it feels like they're the single source of joy in my life. So, what do you think about having kids?
I don't know how much parenting tips I can give you, but I can definitely give you the story of how we got here, right?
So where did it start? Where did it start? Like, so like you wanted kids, what, I don't know, 5 years ago,
Yeah, I
and
mean, when a man loves a woman, Scott,
oh
it's
yeah,
just like,
little birds and bees
uh,
action. Welcome to Directly Correct, a People's Podcast with Cole and Scott. Today's guest, Mike Knott, Principal People Insights in Analytics and Medtronics.
Hey, Directionally Correct fans. This podcast is dedicated to you to help educate and entertain you on how to effectively do people analytics, workforce planning, talent intelligence, behavioral science, and understand the impacts of AI in the workplace. If you're looking to stay connected to the podcast, make sure to subscribe to Directionally Correct Substack newsletter, where you can read Cole's articles or watch the video of the podcast. You can also see video on Spotify or YouTube, or listen to the podcast on your app of choice. Feel free to check out Cole's new book, People Analytics, and everything else that's going on at colenapper.com. As always, all opinions are our own, and thanks for being a listener. I don't know, this is probably stupid, but I was thinking about like how like capitalism is kind of like natural selection. All right.
Yeah.
And so I was like looking for all of the kind of like, well, who's the lion and the cheetah in the working world, and like who are like the antelope and the zebras. And I was thinking about it, I was like, I think big companies are actually the zebras, because there's hundreds of them, like hundreds of like them. And then there's everybody copies everybody else. Nobody wants to stand out, and they move as a herd, and there's safety in the herd. But I started thinking about like, there's never been an innovative zebra, right? And there's no such thing as like innovative company, like big companies, I feel like. And I think that's the struggle that a lot of these companies are going through.
We don't talk about like the life cycle, the natural life cycle of a lot of organizations. Like there was a point where, say like Blockbuster, you'd be like, this company's never failing,
Yeah.
right? But then you stop listening to the outside environment, or start doing technical term inshitification of your product, right?
Wasn't that in an article we covered a while back? That was like a real thing.
I learned it in an interview that I conducted internally. I never came across the term, but it is the best term ever because it makes total sense. But yeah, like inshitification, like you actively try to um devalue your product just to squeeze a little bit more money out of it, and therefore like the overall product is worse for the customer. Like think about like Instagram, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it used to be really cool, but they've changed the whole algorithm. Now it's not
I
what it
feel
was.
like I heard this. I've never heard that explanation of inshitification, but it sounds like something I've heard before: thick versus thin value. So
Not familiar.
So thick value is like, let's say you're an airline and you open up like a new route to a new destination, and you charge more money because it's a new route. And so it's creating value, right? Like that's something somebody actually wanted to pay for. But like charging an extra dollar for bag fees, that's thin value that no one ever wanted, right? And
Yeah.
so like all of the increases that are happening nowadays seem to be in the thin value side, not like in actually creating value for the customer.
Well, especially in the tech sector, where these large companies, to your supposition, are kind of they're weighted down by their own massive, infrastructure that they already have. Where like
Yeah.
startups, you can create a AI bot this weekend and do something that's going to make some money.
Well, that
Could be
was
really
my thought.
disruptive.
Is like the startups are actually the lions and the cheetahs in that environment to the
Oh,
metaphor of
totally.
the other. Yeah. But what's up, Mike? It's good to see you, man.
Guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're good.
you in the Cheetah
Nice.
Club?
The what?
He's like, what are you talking about?
Cole started on his theories of cheetahs and zebras. I was like, you in the Cheetah Club?
I'm not
It's a
even
jungle
gonna,
out there, man.
I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna try to explain it to you. But well, Mike, appreciate you joining the podcast again. This is awesome having you back.
Yeah, guys, happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, 2 times. We got to get you a robe or something.
Nah, I'm all right.
You don't want a big directionally correct robe.
I'm always down for merch, but I'm not a big robe guy.
Cole had printed some T-shirts. I think I just threw it into Goodwill the other day. Honestly, it was pretty rough.
Oh no.
They're
No,
pretty
no,
bad.
they were samples, right?
There were samples that were not good. They may not exist anymore. So yeah, they're bad.
You guys got to bring it back. You guys got to bring it back. Merch is everything these days.
Well, we're only going to do it if it's robes. That's the key.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I do not have what they call style. So anything I say I don't like will probably sell.
Absolutely.
A robe would be a game changer, though. Be like, if you're listening to the pod, you got to be wearing a robe.
It would be one way of everybody feeling like they're in sync all at once. It's like, feel your robe at this moment, touch it.
Very very community based, right? Like we're all in this together,
Yeah.
trying to just feel cozy in this
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
world of ours.
I like having an ASMR break for Cole, right? Just like
Yeah.
everyone
Just
You might have me slowly convinced to be on the team robe now. I'm starting to.
bringing them around one ASMR comment at a time.
I mean, a robe. I mean, like that's high end hotel action. Like that's the best reason to go to a high end hotel.
But
Put the
hasn't
robe,
somebody
just
worn
hang
it
out.
before you? Like, aren't you wearing someone else's
That's my
robe?
that's my fear, dude. The hotels, they're cutting costs. They're not cleaning those things.
Inshitification.
That's the thick and thin value right there.
Yeah.
That proves the point. It's like you were listening, Mike.
Aren't you sleeping in someone else's bed too? I mean,
There's a lot of things that you just kind of have to ignore and hope for the best.
just want to like hide that away in the brain for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you want to talk about today, Scott?
Well, this is the greatest transition ever, right there, man.
I got nothing, man. I like talking about hotel beds.
Well, other than Mike just being like a great dude and a great talker, he is for me a very foreign concept. He just had twins, and he already had one hanging around there. A couple years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm. I
But,
got 2
like,
and 3. And
2
if
and
you
3 years
listen,
old.
yeah, I got 2.5-year-old, but I got numbers 2 and 3.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And if you listen carefully, you might hear their screams wafting in the background.
Yes.
All right. So I don't know where my headphones are. We just moved. It's been a big year for us. Big year for the Knott household. So I have no idea where my headphones are. So you definitely might hear some screams.
It is getting close to Halloween. You never know, right? But like
Yeah.
I find this like as someone or both of you going through experience of like having children. I don't have children, but we never really talk about it either from the male perspective. Like we don't really talk about the working world, what it's like to have kids, all the difficulties of obviously having them, but insurance and all these sort of stuff. And I think it's like a really good topic that we can just kind of like bro out on kids, something that we never talk about.
Yeah, first off, for what it's worth, I think you'd make a great dad. All right, man.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
you'd make a great dad. Second off, I think the unique perspective I can bring is that all my kids were IVF kids, and that's another thing. Like you guys know me, we've known each other forever. Like I'm super open about this stuff, but Like disability research has been a passion of mine. I haven't been able to do much of it the last few years because of all these kids, but like infertility is not something we talk about. And
Mhm.
as people are waiting to have kids older, like the chances of infertility go up, the chances of miscarriage go up, the chances of having, some like birth defects go up, right? And we actually experienced some of that too, in with all three of our kids, and we can talk about that. But I think like the way companies are responding to those trends is super interesting to me. So I'm totally open, happy to share my story, happy to share I don't know how much parenting tips I can give you, but I can definitely give you the story of how we got here, right?
So where did it start? Where did it start? Like, so like you wanted kids, what, I don't know, 5 years ago,
Yeah, I
and
mean, when a man loves a woman, Scott,
oh
it's
yeah,
just like
little birds and bees
uh,
action.
so I met my wife Eleanor, and we got married, and we want to have kids right away. And we started trying to have kids, and we quickly realized that it wasn't going the way we wanted it to go.
Yeah,
And so we went and met with a doctor, and he confirmed that we both had some issues going on. And she's cool with me sharing all this, by the way, too. Uh, so yeah, my swimmers were more like drowners, and wasn't really doing the job they needed to do. So we started down the IVF road. It's a very expensive road,
oh
but
really?
luckily, I was looking to transition from my old company and came across Medtronic, and Medtronic offers an IVF benefit, and we've taken advantage of that for all three of our kids, and that was probably, if not the top reason, the second most important reason why I personally chose Medtronic, as my next job. And I've been at this company for 5 years now. Because it is, I mean, it's wildly expensive. It's for
What
a
a perk!
full cycle. You're talking about like harvesting the eggs, fertilizing the eggs, creating the embryos, transferring the embryos. It's like $15,000 to $20,000. And maybe you can go elsewhere in the world and get it a little cheaper, but it's pretty expensive. So that was a huge benefit for us.
What a perk in a world where like companies are, pulling back benefits and all this sort of stuff. Like, because we still need people out there, having kids and producing the next generation.
Yeah, yeah. We need to make more people
We need to
just
make
more
more
money and
people.
make money. No, I mean you're right. I mean, you're right. People are waiting to have kids longer. And especially I think like working people, I think like the average age for folks in metropolitan areas especially is higher than like rural areas. And so those
Yeah, of
folks who are
course.
like, working in the big city, right? And for that big company, like they're maybe a little bit more career focused than they have been in the past. Also, it's kind of tough out there economically, right? To
Yeah.
like save up enough money for a house and kids and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I think people just wait longer, and with that comes like the risks that we talked about, right? So we actually had so after we met with that doctor, took the job with Medtronic, great benefit, ended up having to switch doctors like twice, two more times because of like one time our insurance changed, we went to a different plan, and another time like that doctor like left the network, right? So we ended up with a great doctor here in Dallas IVF, Sarah Mikowski. She was awesome. My wife loved her, loved the clinic. Did not love the road to get to that clinic, right? Like the switching was very stressful. You have to go through all the tests like over again, right? And um, while I think it's obviously it's like it's hard on the husband, it's hard on like it was hard on me. It's much harder on my wife, right? I mean, that's just a
Oh
fact.
yeah.
Like I'm not the one who has to have surgery to harvest eggs, right, from my body. And the testing is a little bit more invasive and things like that. So it's I think we don't do enough to talk about it, and I'm happy to like share my perspective, but I'm not like I don't want this to come off as like a oh woe is me, I had it so hard. Like yeah, it was hard, but my wife had it harder, right? Um,
No,
so
this is the guy podcast. We're We're gonna discount other people's opinions.
Yeah. So it was.
I just like to kind of like, yeah, screw these women. Like, they don't have any problem.
Like Mike had to go into a
Remember, I
closet,
don't have
right?
headphones,
Like,
guys.
come
I don't
on.
have headphones on here, so like I can't be held responsible for what happens. All right. But anyway, yeah, it was rough. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like it was a rough road. It was a rough road. But the way IVF works is, and I think there's a lot of like misinformation out there, like how it works. But you essentially, there's the big part of it's the retrieval. That's like the really expensive part. Is
Right.
there's some anesthesia involved. Eleanor had to go under, and they had to take eggs so we could fertilize the eggs, right? And then they fertilize the eggs with sperm they collected from me, and then that's what makes the embryos. Well, you have to like time all this, right? Based on her cycle. And if you don't time it right, like the quality can be off, that it can't, it won't,
Yeah.
it might not work. And so we harvested these eggs, we fertilized them. Some get fertilized, some don't, right? Some don't become embryos. And then you test the embryos. It's called PGT testing to make sure that they're like genetically viable to come to term, right? And that's and a lot of people think like you're screening, you're like it's like a eugenics kind of thing. It's not
Yeah.
really like that. It's like there are genetic markers where that embryo will not make it to term, right? Like it is not going to survive. And so why would you implant it, right? Like why would you transfer that embryo into a human being if you know that embryo is not going to make it to full term based on the genetic results? So that first retrieval we did, all of the embryos came back as like genetically inviable or non-viable,
Oh.
which was super rough, right? Because then, I mean, you have to go back to the well essentially and harvest a whole new
She's
set
gonna
of
have surgery
eggs. And
again.
yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my
So
gosh.
that was really hard for her. It was hard for me. It was just it was super rough. But um, the uh, the second round was awesome, and this is where I think like the docs at Dallas IVF really came in. Clutch was they switched up the timing just like ever so slightly and adjusted some of the medication, and we got a lot more embryos. Like we got like I can't remember the exact number, but after the genetic testing, we had like 5 or 7 that were viable to be transferred.
So wait, you could like have a whole basketball team, like
Pretty much,
still?
yeah. I
Yeah, I mean
mean,
you can
if
still.
you get, yeah,
He's already got a poor man's triplets, so I mean, all he
Yeah.
needs is 2 more.
yeah. I'm not gonna do that though, guys. I'm good with 3. Thank you very much. We're
Y'all are
gonna we're
done.
gonna keep
You
it at that.
good?
Yeah, we're gonna keep it at 3. I'm not interested in them playing basketball. They can just help around the house. Thank you. Uh, but yeah, so then the transfers happen, right? So after they kind of make the embryos, it's super easy to actually implant them. It's you don't even go under for anesthesia. They just kind of wheel you back there and you know
They just hit you with a
shoot them up
mallet in the
there,
head.
and not to minimize it, but it's a lot easier than the retrieval, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's wild, Mike. I really appreciate you
Wow.
sharing that. And I mean, I think there's,
Yeah.
like you said, I think there's a lot of information out there that people don't have about this
Mm.
topic. And I didn't know like half the stuff you just mentioned. So I appreciate you educating me
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Well, and then we had like a failure, right? Because not
Mhm.
all the embryos transfer right. So we had one didn't work, and then we had Sally. So
Mhm.
Sally was another one, and then we waited. Obviously, we weren't. They make you wait, and we weren't going to have like a kid that's super close to another kid. That's we weren't about to do that to ourselves. But then we tried again. By this time, Eleanor's 40. I'm in my late 30s, right? We had the embryos all ready to go, and so we had a couple more failures, and then we transferred the latest embryo, and that split into twins.
Oh, really? You were not anticipating twins.
Oh no, hell no, dude. It is super. Apparently, it is super dangerous. Not dangerous. That's dramatic. It's like a higher risk to implant multiple embryos. So this is, I think, a misconception that a lot of people have. I think a lot of people have, like, I've seen some videos online and people talking about this where they're like, "Oh, IVF, you just throw a bunch of embryos at the wall and see what sticks." And it's like, "Nah, you're not doing that."
Yeah.
Some clinics will implant multiple, but all three of the ones we went to did not allow us to do that. So, just a little bit safer, right? So the risk there is you have to do multiple transfers, but it's like safer for it was safer for Eleanor.
I just hear like
Or at least that's what they told us.
the cash register ringing at each time, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, I
it's
didn't
like
pay
a
for it.
well, it's a big advertisement for Medtronics, right? Like
Yeah.
the quality of life there.
And I'll tell you, like, I've seen a lot of other companies offer this benefit. And look, I mean, I don't want to sit here and like make it sound like there's a limit, obviously. Like you can't just like, raise an army over here because it is really expensive.
Oh,
But,
clown
you
car.
know, there's enough to make to where like your chances are really good. Um, and going back to the genetic testing, like I said, like it's not some like weird eugenics thing to me.
Yeah.
And in fact, like we had a crazy experience where like it doesn't test for everything. By the way, this isn't like some like CRISPR, where you can build your own baby kind of thing. Like that's not true at all. We actually found out. This is a crazy story. So Sally's pregnancy, or my Eleanor's pregnant with Sally, right? Everything's going fine. She goes in for the last ultrasound before the delivery. And of course, that is the one I don't go to. I'm like, I don't need to go to this. This is fine. Like, what could possibly go wrong?
Hey, you got this.
Yeah. And she calls me like bawling because they found what's called like frontal bossing on the ultrasound. And that's where the skull is kind of growing out. And we had no idea what was going on. Like, this could be hydrocephalus, which is like fluid in the brain. It could be like super, super severe disability, something like that. And we just didn't know. And so they referred us to the maternal fetal medicine at Baylor Scott and White here in Dallas, and we met with really great doctor Zach Rubio. And I remember sitting down with him, and he's kind of staring at the ultrasound, and he's like, "This doesn't just happen. Like this is something. Something is going on here. Like something genetic is going on here." And so we both got tested like on a second level of genetic testing, like super specific. And it turns out there is like in my wife's family a gene called the twist gene. It's like a little twist in our story here that caused a disorder called Say3-Chotzen syndrome, which is like a 1 in 100,000 baby syndrome kind of thing. And it causes the main symptom, like the biggest symptom, is craniosynostosis, which is where a baby's born, their skull's kind of mushy, and it's got like
Yeah,
these
yeah,
little
yeah.
plates in it, right, and soft spots. Well, as the baby grows, those sutures between the parts of the skull harden, and the skull becomes like an adult skull. Well, with craniosynostosis, those sutures like fuse super early, so the skull starts to grow abnormally to kind of compensate for the brain, right? To like make room for the brain. And there's a bunch of risks there where it's like if the skull is too small, the brain gets like builds up a bunch of pressure. You could have intracranial pressure. If you don't do anything about it, there could be like developmental issues and all this stuff. So, I mean, naturally, we're freaking out, and
Of course.
it turned out to be fine. I mean, not fine. She had to have like two surgeries, got an infection after one surgery, had to have emergency surgery. What we got through it, and she's awesome. Like, she is super smart, like just a
That's
little
great.
ball of joy. We love her so much. It's great. Everything worked out. Um, and like we just had no idea, right? And who knows, had we been in our 20s when we did this, like maybe it would have happened, I don't know. But we got super lucky. And then with the twins, it happened again. And we decided, like, we decided as a couple, like as a family, not to go back to the embryos that we were going to implant and test again. we decided that we didn't want to do that for a lot of reasons. It kind of did feel a little like selective breeding, right? Like what were we gonna do? Like if we found out that this embryo had say three chosin and this one didn't,
Yeah.
were we gonna pick the one that didn't do it? Like, was it gonna, if they all had say three chosen, were we just not gonna have kids? Like, there's like really tough kind of ethical and moral questions that we wrestled with. And ultimately, based on that and like the risk to the embryos that we already had on ice, we decided to not test those and just say, hey, like, we're gonna trust God with this, we're gonna move on. And if it happens, it happens. And it happened. And they both got say three chosin. But what's super interesting about this to me is one's is like worse than the other, and they're identical twins. So, and by worse, I mean like the same level as Sally. They'll be fine. There's no, I mean, I'm on a text thread with the surgeon from Children's Hospital. Like, they're going to be fine. Um, but
It's
it was
just
like from a,
nature nurture, right?
yeah, right. Like,
Like
how do genetically identical twins have different manifestations of the same gene? The only thing I can think of is one of them had a different like connection to the
you never
placenta.
know. You
Yeah,
never know.
exactly. Right. It could be like a solar flare. I
Well, I
don't
mean,
know.
like you, yeah, right. Like
Yeah,
a ray from the sun.
the microwave
Uh,
was. I don't know. Like,
but like, I mean, like both of y'all have had kiddos at the house, or and you're trying to work at the same time. Like, how has your life changed from a working perspective with kiddos around?
I mean, like, I think the stress level has definitely gone up for me.
Really?
Yeah, just from hey, what happens if like there's a little bit more I would say high stakes, right? Like, if I lost my job, like what are the implications of
Oh,
that for my
gotcha.
family? You know what I mean? So there's a little bit more. I think about that a little
Well, you're
bit
the
more.
provider, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and we'd be fine. Like, I mean, it ultimately it's not that. I don't think it would be the end of the world. It would suck, but it wouldn't like, we wouldn't be on the street or anything. But that's stressful. And then, just like the time management, right?
Yeah.
Is, when I was a single guy or when I had no kids, like I could just hop on a call with anybody at any time, really. You know what I mean? Or I could work from
All
10
weekend.
p.m. to 2 in the
Yeah.
morning and like not lose a beat, right? Um, but with kids, like, I want to spend some time with my daughter, right? When she gets home from school. And so I've got to manage my calendar in a way that makes that possible. And then, long-term career, I think it's changed how I think about that. I used to be super mobile. Like, I would move at the drop of a hat, right?
Yeah.
But my family's kind of entrenched in their community. Like, my kids' doctors are here. I can't just pick up and take a new job or relocate for the company on a dime anymore. I got to like really really think about that. So the day to day, there's a little bit of more planning that goes into it, and then like the long term thinking about it has absolutely shifted as well.
Is that your experience too, Cole?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it. I'd actually love to get Mike's perspective. Like, what's the thing? So, my opinion on this is like having kids always gets a bad rap, and like people are like, oh, it's hard, it costs so much money. Oh, I have more responsibility now. But what's the best part about having kids? I think kids are great. Like kids, like are like probably sometimes it feels like they're the single source of joy in my life. So, what do you think about having kids?
So I'd say like I I think you can have an absolutely meaningful and beautiful life without kids, 100%. I think I used to when I was like a single guy, there was part of me that was like, oh man, like if I had a family, like that would be everything, right? And so like I just want to say that, but I do think that like my life has, I mean, there's so I feel so much more purpose
Yeah.
in my life because I have kids and a family than I did when I was single. And I'm not saying that like I had no purpose when I was single, and I'm not saying that you can't if you are and you don't have kids. But I think it just means a lot to me, and it's given me a lot. But like, um, yeah, I think that there are plenty of people who will struggle with infertility, and unfortunately, like they won't be as lucky, and they won't be able to have kids, or it just won't work out, and that's gonna like if they want kids, that's gonna suck. Like there's no other way to say it. But I doesn't mean that their life is over, or that they're not gonna like find meaning. You know what I mean? Like you can still have awesome human connection without kids. But I think for me personally, like it has meant everything. Um, I live for that, like that hug, at the end of the day. Like it's awesome. So it definitely means a lot.
Do you think you're gonna raise them more like R or more like Python?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'm gonna have Gen AI do it, dude. I'm not gonna parent. Are you kidding me?
More vibe coding kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
I'm
see.
gonna do what the other parents are doing and just let like the kindergarten potty train him, you know?
Well, Mike, I have something kind of related to that. So, like, you've been a guest on the podcast. You're like one of our first guests. I don't know if you were the first, but you were one of our first that we ever had.
Yeah.
And we talked about, you and Scott went to school at the same time at Louisiana Tech. I was like PhD, all that stuff. And you mentioned earlier, kind of like you haven't been able to engage in as much of the disability research as you'd like. What are some of the things that you're working on that you get enjoyment out of at the moment?
Yeah. Well, paternity leave, man, I gotta say, I read half of your book. I'm still working through it, but I started reading your book. And I gotta say, I am very proud of you.
No, thanks, man.
You waited all the way until the second paragraph of the first page to cite yourself. And
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. I thought for sure that book was going to open up with a quote: "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott, Cole Napper.
Yeah.
And
You know me too
no,
well.
but in all seriousness, it's a good book, man. I've enjoyed it. I think you ask a really good question, right? Is like, where is people analytics going to be in the next like 5 to 10 years, or even 3 to 5 years? And you kind of give a challenge, like, hey, if we don't get our stuff together and start adding value, like we're not going to be here, and we're just going to be embedded and absorbed by some other part of HR or by the business. And so I would really like to go back to your book in 3 to 5 years and see like what has actually played out. So like do a calendar invite. We can talk about that. But
we can talk anytime you
and I
want.
love
Mike.
your
We don't
Houston
have to wait
Astros
5
reference.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did love your Houston Astros reference too, by the way.
You're welcome.
RIP to the Houston Astros season, though.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge bummer to me.
Banging on.
What was the Astros reference?
The Moneyball,
Yeah.
like Oakland Athletics, and
gotcha.
you like leveraging value and analytics to save money for the company, but also like increase performance.
Yeah, this was pre-banging on trash cans.
Don't worry about
Astros.
it. Yeah, no. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that. Everybody, I'm not even gonna get into it with you guys. I'm not gonna get into that. We don't need to get into that.
I will get into Moneyball. I will. The only thing I'll say about Moneyball is the A's never won the World Series using Moneyball. Just saying. Just they barely made the playoffs.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that yesterday. I don't know why it came up, but I was thinking about Moneyball, and I was just like, kind of the similar point, but not exactly the same, which is it seems like it's like the poor guy strategy, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to use numbers to win and calculate things. Ooh, it's like, or you could just go win. It's like, why don't you just go try to win? How about that?
Throw some money at this thing, right?
Yeah.
Let's go win.
Or stop making excuses and just hit the ball, so to speak. Yeah, there's got to be a little bit of analytics, a little bit of inspiration. I mean, what was it you were telling me once, Scott? That like, there's not that big of a difference amongst like talent groups in the MLB.
Yeah,
but it's just like
I used to work with the guy that was on the Chicago Cubs, and he was saying like when you get down to the field, like the teams are pretty even as far as talent goes. Results vary. Marlins, this sort of thing. But like overall, the teams are pretty even. It's all about culture and just like in the moment performance. It's like, wow, that's really crazy.
yeah.
Baseball is a different animal too. That is like very much an individual sport with like a team concept. Whereas like say football is on the other end of the spectrum, where like you need some 300-pounder to like throw a block, so another guy can like run to the end zone, get a touchdown, like kiss the cheerleader, like and live
Yeah,
happily ever
yeah.
after.
Like the success is way more dependent on other people,
Oh
whereas
yeah,
in MLB, like you could be, a superstar on a terrible. You could be Shohei Otani on the Angels. You know
yeah.
what I mean? The best players, the better than Babe Ruth, and you just lose every game. Like the headlines used to be Shohei Otani breaks record XYZ. Angels lose 5-3, right? Like,
And of course, you do have like these generational talents. Not to say that every player is, equal, but across the board, there was some guy that was like a bench rider in the NBA, and he was talking about dealing with people at the park, right? Like do pick up basketball, this sort of thing, and they would clown him for being like a bench rider in the NBA, and he's like, I am way closer to LeBron than you are to me, right? That's how close the skill gap is.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's only like once in a generation talents, like Johnny Manziel, once every generation.
Oh,
So
Johnny Manziel. You guys,
JFF.
I got my jersey on the ground over there, my
There he is.
autographed Johnny
there he
jersey.
is.
I'm going to
Hit
the
him with
Auburn
the
game
money.
tomorrow.
Y'all want to move on? A little confusion matrix.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
The Confusion Matrix.
Let's do it. Okay. As always, Cole is the arbiter of truth. If he likes your answers, then he will make you a social media tile that you can share with your friends, family, Medtronic wide, etc. So this is a little bit of just random questions, but they're like kind of bastardized from true interview questions asked by recruiters. But Cole didn't seem to like that bit, so I changed it up a bit and just made it different.
Just
Okay,
recycling it. Just
I'm just recycling it. Hey man, they got good content here. It's just a little bit different. Uh, I love this one. Do you mind if we record this, Mike? Like, mind if we record this? Okay. Have you ever seen a UFO? Like, you go around hunting every so often out in the country.
Have I ever seen a UFO?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen like moving lights in the sky that I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, I just think that stuff's like China. You know what I mean? Testing out like a new drone or something.
Their new weather balloon, their new
Yeah,
whatever.
it's Mylar balloons. It's always swamp gas and Mylar balloons. That's all it ever is.
yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
pretty much.
Go down to like the Dreamland out in like Utah, New Mexico.
Yeah, it's like why are you always seeing UFOs strangely close to military bases? Isn't that weird? That's so weird, right? What a coincidence.
Why?
I mean, they're not gonna like watch me like drink a Lacroix on my patio on the weekend. I mean, they're not going to do that. One of my favorite theories, though, about aliens is the prison planet theory,
What's
where
this?
like humans we're like a terrible species, right? Like, and objectively, we kind of are, but we have committed galactic atrocities, and so Earth is our prison planet, and
All
we were
right.
put here with no technology, no nothing, and we just have to like survive, and we're being watched, and they've got to make sure that we don't leave Earth essentially and like colonize outside of our solar system.
This is the good place. Is
Yeah.
kind of what you're saying
If
Well,
they're
prison place.
we are pretty bad at leaving Earth, so they're onto something.
there.
Yeah.
We're not. We haven't done much of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like your toast? You got a toast setting?
These are real questions.
These are real questions asked by recruiters. I changed the wording a little bit, but yeah.
Thank you, Mike, because that was exactly my response last time Scott did this
Yeah.
segment. It's like these are real interview questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like that. That realization you have when you leave grad school or you leave a place and you're like, oh, this is how it is.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
This is what we're doing still.
I was never prepared for this in the book.
Yeah. Well, I'm gluten free these days, man. So I don't do really toast anymore. Hot. I like it hot.
Hot toast.
Just
Yeah.
You know, one of the revelations I had in the past year or so is like the toast setting, like on the little toaster. That's
Yeah.
not some sort of like mythical measure of toastiness. It's
No,
just a
it's
timer.
minutes.
It's just a
Yeah.
timer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a timer.
I'll be honest, I've never used a toaster before. I don't know how to use it. Don't know what the settings are. Nothing.
Do you have like people that make your toast for you?
Well, I don't eat toast, so that helps. But
Okay.
nor when we ate because I remember you would always see on the commercials growing up, you were supposed to put like Pop Tarts in the toaster. Never did that either. So just had regular Pop Tarts and never ate much toast.
Wait. You just ate them out of the wrapper? Like no.
Yeah,
You would actually cook them or
you
like
didn't
not
like
cook them?
didn't like eat the Pop Tart wrapper too. So yes, we took them out of the wrappers before we ate them.
But no, did you cook them? That's
No.
the question.
Never ate a cooked Pop Tart.
Wow. I'd be
You
more
never ate a
impressed if you ate it with the
Pop-Tart? That's
Milo.
probably good for you. I mean, you're probably going to live longer than me
Well,
because of that.
yeah. I mean, I ate plenty of Pop Tarts. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna die someday.
You know, I will say this about Pop-Tarts. We need Pop-Tarts involved more in college football. If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
watch the Pop-Tart Bowl, that is the most fun bowl game I have watched outside of a playoff game.
The Pop Tart showed up to Dublin, even. Like that's not even the Pop Tart Bowl, but yes. Do you fuck around?
Whoa.
Real question
Whoa.
asked by a recruiter.
Okay.
I mean, that's wild,
I
man.
see why Scott wanted to continue the segment.
Yeah. I guess that's your one like FCC allowed curse word, right? Before you have to have like explicit ratings or something.
This is just a quote. This is just a
If
quote.
here's the key, Mike. If you're unpopular enough, no rules apply to you.
You got to hit a threshold. Podcasts aren't regulated like that. It's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question, Scott. I mean, I guess
I mean, like no one's
if I
100% on the ball, right? Like,
yeah, you know,
not like our AI cousin.
I guess if you wanted to turn that into like a good, I'm a learner kind of answer, you'd say, early in my career, I struggled with that, but then I found out and I worked on it, and now I don't anymore.
Would you say it's
Found out later on.
FAFO? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think it's you incorporate it like that. Oh, this guy's kind of funny, and then also he's serious enough. I don't know.
Anyway.
All right, last one. What was the last hashtag you used?
Oh, geez, do people even use hashtags anymore? I think.
Yeah, I think it's like a dated question, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's like that algo.
I think it's funny how people still use them. It's weird. I'm like, is this
Probably hashtag sports cards is what I used. Post a pic of my Nolan Ryan rookie.
I mean, knowing me, and this is lame, but probably my last hashtag was hashtag people analytics. Because
it's pretty lame.
Yeah, that's pretty lame.
That's pretty lame, dude.
Yep. That's bad. Oh, well.
I named my college football pick'em team hashtag fire the coach. I think that's probably my last hashtag.
Yeah.
I get it.
You
It's like firing yourself.
Yeah. Right? Self-deprecating.
Yeah. Well, you want to do some nerdery?
How do you feel about, before we go to the nerdery, though, not to host your podcast for you, but how do you feel about Arch Manning so far this year, Scott?
Really concerning. Really concerning. I think he's turning the corner. I think he needed a slump buster. He got
And
that.
slump buster's name was Sam Houston State, huh?
Yeah, I think he needs to just fucking spin the ball, and he'll be fine. But there's something weird with his arm motion that wasn't there last year. There's something people were suggesting that he was injured. I never really thought he was injured, but I do think that he had a mental blockage, which is even more concerning.
The mental part of it is the thing that I think is not being talked about enough. I mean, the guy is from a football royalty, right? It's from football royalty. The amount of pressure on him has got to be just unlike any other college football player in the history of college football.
I mean, named preseason Heisman favorite when you haven't even really played.
Named preseason #1 draft pick. Like people were picking him to go number one in the draft. And that Texas was going to win the championship, right? They were preseason ranked #1. Like, all the things, how many times has that happened in the history of college football? And all that talk of like, hey, this is, the nephew of Eli and Peyton. Like,
He
it's a
should
lot of
call
pressure
them
for
more.
a 19-year-old kid or however old he is.
Well, I look at, say, like Jackson Arnold last week. He got blown up by Oklahoma because he just held on to the ball, like refused to throw the ball. I think like a lot of the same things was happening, but
Yeah. The thing about him is I think in a previous era of college football, Arch Manning probably would win the Heisman someday. He might not now. And the reason why is because underclassmen didn't used to play as much and the older guys played and people didn't transfer from school to school all the time. And like when somebody was like a good recruit comes in, the person that's a starter ahead of him just transfers out and gets a payday from somebody else and things like
Right.
that. And really, I think all he needs is a chance to develop because he's clearly like a generational talent. He's clearly very good. He's just like, to Mike's point, he's got all this pressure on him. He's being asked to like perform at Heisman-like levels too early. Like, I feel like it's unfair expectations to put on a guy.
he made a throw
on a
against.
kid.
Yeah,
He made a throw against Ohio State that was like 1-1 QB, right? Like perfectly passed, and then like 2 plays later, missed a wide open guy in the flat. Like there's something mental there going on.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things
Yeah.
I love about these moments is like there's a random person in Brazil listening to our podcast, and they're like, "What are you guys talking about?"
Who the hell is Arch Manning? Is that even a real name?
I like really obscure topics that are
Put it in football terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a different guest you've got on today. Like, probably not as accomplished as your other ones, but we'll have a combo.
There's probably a people analytics tie in here. Like, imagine like if you do have an employee that is like struggling with just confidence in general, like I don't know, refusing to speak up in meetings or something like that. Like, what do you do? Because you can't just be like, get 4 inches taller.
Yeah.
Get confident. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
Well, I think and then like in football too, I think about how individual that is, right? Like
Oh yeah.
some players respond to you getting in their face and challenging them, whereas other players shut down when that happens. And how do you, like, as a coach, as a leader, like recognize that? And what's that? It's like the individualized consideration component of transformational leadership. So like everybody's different, they're all motivated differently, and how do you, as a leader, figure out how to maximize that potential?
Wow, pulling out the leadership theories on our ass.
I still have a flashbulb memory of the flashcard of transformational leadership that I used in to study for comps.
I love it
in grad school. Like it's still burned in my brain. That little piece of it.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I have a here's a quick Mikeism. We were it was late at night. We were studying. We had a training test, and Mike had just happened to say something about something I hadn't covered, and by God, it showed up right on the test like 5 minutes later. And I was like, hell yes.
That was the second. There was another time I saved you, and it was after one of our stats tests. I came into your office and you and Jason were hanging out, and I said, "Hey, which question on did you pick for the last part?" And you were like, "What do you mean pick?" And you both were like, "No, you had to answer both of them." And so I was like, "Oh no, I screwed up." And I went back, and the professor was like, "No, you were right. Like they need to tell me which one they want me to grade because I'm going to grade the lower one." And I was like, "Oh, geez."
Fucking overachieving. Mike with his reading skills.
Yeah.
I say we could go down memory lane for sure, but Cole, you wanted to get into this something called the nerdery, is that right?
We don't have to. I mean, like if you've got more stories about how you saved Scott, I would be glad to hear them.
I think we're at a good stopping point with the stories because I feel like any more stories we get into, it's gonna like get into a place where like I can't let you publish this thing, and I don't want to deal with that.
I got like 3 that came to mind that would probably be like for a lesser podcast.
So what's this nerdery you're talking about, Cole? What do you got?
Where do you want to start, Cole?
The nerdery.
Where do you
All right, let me hit you guys with the first one. It's actually kind of related to what Mike was saying about like Arch Manning and transformational leadership. It's talking about what do our daily mood swings say about our motivation. right? And so it's more of like looking at motivation from a state-based measure rather than trait-based. And this is, again, Minerva
Love that.
Psychology has been publishing some great stuff lately. But what they said, the new research suggests from Hewitt et al. 2024 that our brains value rewards differently based on our momentary state. And that motivation specifically boosted reward sensitivity, not effort sensitivity. In other words, when you're motivated, the potential reward simply seems more valuable, making the effort worthwhile. And motivation's not stable, it's a dynamic state. And the link between motivation and the choices you make is stronger than you think. So again, the state that you're in, it dictates the choices you make in a much more great way than what you might suspect. And so a person's current motivation was a better predictor of their choices than any long-term personality traits. So I thought this was fascinating, and I guess it's sort of related to what we were talking about a second ago. But what do you guys think about this concept that our daily mood swings affect our motivation or our choices more than you might think? Please don't all go at once.
I think Mitzi would love this conversation.
I know. I know she would.
Mitzi. I I kind of just, maybe it's the narcissist in me, but I immediately like try to apply that to my own perspective, right? And there are absolutely days where I am like super motivated to accomplish X, and I will, go to any lengths to talk to the right people, look up the right research, whatever the question is. But there are other days where like my motivation is to just like survive the day, and it's
Yeah.
I am gonna do the bare ass minimum to get by. And especially like when, talking earlier, like when Sally was having her surgery and all that stuff, like those were days where like my motivation is to like, go to the hospital and not totally lose my mind. Yeah, so I can absolutely see how like that would play into it. I wonder if like motivation, how interconnected motivation is to other phenomena, like, external experiences and personality. Like what's the intersectionality there, right? Like how does it intersect with other stuff? And is that really what's driving the behavior choice?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there's a genetic component and all sorts of things that we're not familiar with. Like I love the application of like this experience sampling methodology to get the more complete picture of how people actually experience the world, right? And like
Yeah.
perhaps you can identify certain times when people are higher or lower motivated. I'll take the opposite sort of perspective that you did, Mike, from like a researcher or like someone in an organization. Much like how do you coach up someone that has no confidence? Like
Mhm.
I don't really know how you apply a state-based sort of intervention unless you can recognize it super quickly that someone is in this state to maximize their output. Maybe AI can help us do this, but you need almost like a stable trait-based, low-level, some sort of intercept to
Yeah.
attack on these sort of things.
Yeah.
I think it depends on if you think like you can manipulate states or not. Like if you think states can be triggered or you can control what state you were in with the
Clearly
right
you
training or
can,
whatever,
right?
then giving them like the confidence, or like putting them in situations where they can win
Yeah.
and they can know that they can win and be successful. And so then they can kind of put their mind in that state where they were when they were successful, right? And it
Yeah.
reduces that anxiety or reduces that lack of confidence. I don't know.
Almost like a young quarterback who needs a little time to develop, that they never really
Yeah,
got. Like they need that chance
let your
to get.
playoff caliber team play Sam Houston State.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my thought on it is, I guess, so Scott's was the opposite of Mike's. And I'm going to say the opposite of Scott's, but not the same as what Mike said, which is like one of these things that we've been using in psychological research for a while that's just always bugged me is that we're like comfortable that our stable trait-based measures are predictive of things like performance with just a certain level of like correlation coefficient. And then like it never really goes up. So we plateau, we never really get better. but then we write off examples of ways that we could actually go beyond that threshold, perhaps from like state-based measures. And so if you were able to couple those trait-based measures with something state-based and ways of measuring that and then improving that, kind of to Mike's point, I think that there's actually a lot of, like, let's say, area for future research that could happen that could really make a difference there. So I think it's actually a really intriguing space.
Well, all of those state-based measures, they're just treated as error under the
Correct.
trait-based,
Yep.
right? Those are just residuals.
And maybe there, some of it is true error and some of it is false error,
Yeah.
right? Like a false negative, right? So
Yeah.
like I think again, there's probably some real signal there that could be sussed out if somebody were ever so curious.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
this is the beauty of, say, like Mitzi DeSales' research. Like, there are times where you feel powerful, right? And there's times that you feel like meek.
Like telic, perhaps.
Is that what it is?
I can't
forgot
remember. It's
anymore.
either telic or paratelic. I always get them confused.
Yeah. And maybe the technology's changed, but I kind of lament that we can't like crack this for organizations yet because, over the last like 10 years ish that I've been doing this work, I'm kind of becoming increasingly disenfranchised a little bit with some of I think they're important, but like the biannual annual survey, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
like, how do we do something like experience sampling method where you're not, pulling manufacturers off the line or like pulling doctors off of the operating table, to take a little quiz on their phone. Like, how do you crack this for an organization to really like drive value and also, get the right kind of buy-in where you're actually sampling like a good portion of your organization, and then like get over the data privacy concerns, right? Because you're not going to be able to do this in a lot of places in Europe in the same way
that's
that
a
you
whole
could,
different issue. Yeah.
in the US.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, Scott, you want to move on to one of yours?
Sure. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about comedians or job perception?
Why don't we talk about the bullshit jobs?
Yeah.
Since it's kind of related to the inshitification earlier that we talked about.
So, yeah, I mean, this article is titled Bullshit Job Experiences at Work and Subjective Well-Being, the Moderating Role of Protestant Work Ethic. So they define bullshit job experiences kind of like the way you would in your daily life. It adds no value. You're just kind of like a meaningless task, this sort of stuff. So that they identified folks that obviously had gone through some of these sort of things. 1,400 people in the sample. They administered some sort of measure of this bullshit job perception, subjective well-being, and Protestant work ethic. And what they found is that perceptions of bullshit job experiences was negatively related to subjective well-being, but only for those people that had low work ethic. For people that had high work ethic, bullshit job perceptions was not associated with subjective well-being whatsoever. So your actual work ethic moderated your perception of these sort of mundane, meaningless experiences.
And just to make sure I understand it, you're saying if you have a strong work ethic, you don't feel like they're mundane, but if you have a bad work ethic, you do?
If you have a strong work ethic, it's more like these bullshit job experiences don't bother you.
Okay, yeah.
That's a better way to...
So you don't mind filling out the expense reports and creating TPS reports if you are high Protestant work ethic, right?
If you have a low work ethic, it does bother you.
It does bother you, okay.
Because you got to do what you got to do. You just got to get it done.
I kind of think that, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think there's been a lot of talk lately about bullshit jobs as like AI is going to come in and like disrupt a lot of like the meaningless work. So maybe our jobs would become more meaningful. I don't know. And maybe the folks, I guess, who have a strong work ethic who've been like pulling all the weight for the folks who don't on on this meaningless work, maybe they'll like get to apply that to something more productive. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like any sort of like bullshit job experiences in my life. Like I'm sure I've gone through them, but some of the things that I would call like there was at one time where I had to put together a bunch of packets, and it's like a team sort of thing. Like everyone grab one sheet from each pile and put it all together. And like, yes, it was menial task, but it had a purpose. All right. And I could see the purpose of it, which is different.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I hate rubber stamping approvals. Like, to me, that was one of the things I've been moving into management, that like there's just all these like rubber stamp approvals that like have no purpose. And it's just like, I hated that part of the job. And it's just like, man, can we like figure out, because like if you either always reject or always accept something, there was no point in doing it at all. Right. It was only if like 70% of the time you actually pass it through, that has value or meaning. And so like anything that's like always a rubber stamp just seems so useless.
You'll see these stories where people like will, stop creating a report or a dashboard and just see if anyone ever notices or gets back to them.
Yeah.
To me, it's less about like the perception of meaningless work than it is about like work that I do that I thought was meaningful and then it doesn't go anywhere. It's like it just takes the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, there's nothing like busting your ass and then like no one cares. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
There's been many of that. I've had a lot of misses. I got a heart out. So y'all want to do one more real quick?
Yeah, let's do one more real quick.
Personality of comedians. So, we often think that comedians are prone to mental illness, but no one's proved it yet. They took 108 comedians and 98 adults from the general population. I guess you should call these people unfunny. I don't know. But they gave them all a whole bunch of DSM measures, etc. And they found that comedians have higher levels of generalized anxiety disorder, somatization disorder. So essentially like feeling symptoms physically, and higher rates of alcohol and substance abuse. They also have a higher openness to experience, extroversion, and malignant self-regard.
Some people just call that more fun,
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's probably a work hazard in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah,
you're sitting at a nightclub all night. Like, yeah, you're going to have a drink.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Is like, how much of that is environmental?
It sounds like, it's like they found the one profession that cocktail of things together would benefit them in. So that's really good. Yeah.
Cocktail.
And like self-deprecating humor is kind of funny, right? So like, I wonder how much of behavior is driving attitude there, where like you get into it so you would kind of make fun of yourself and eventually it turns into maybe like a little self-hate. I don't know.
There is something about like drilling down into yourself, or just like having generalized anxiety. It's like, this is something that I can like nitpick at and make into something funny.
Yeah, like you're looking at the world in a different way.
Yeah.
And, maybe you're seeing the cracks in it and you're like, oh, this isn't a great place.
Yeah, the person on like Zoloft, they don't give a shit about like all the horrible things going on around them in the world.
I just think that we've covered the most important research today, and I'm really glad that we have the nerdery. This is good stuff. We're tackling the big topics.
Hey, look, I got to jump, but thank y'all for having me and let me share my story. Hopefully, it resonated with someone who may be going through it, and there's no shame in it. And look, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, bud.
Yeah. You've been listening to Directionally Correct, a People Analytics podcast with Cole and Scott. Today's guest, Michael Knott. That was a quick wrap up. Thanks, guys.
Take care.